Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. And with me is a very special guest, Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of the Slovak Republic, Juraj Blanar. Mr. Minister, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Good to have you, sir.
And it's a pleasure to see you again.
Indeed. Mr. Minister, how is the trade and investment ties between Slovakia and India coming along?
Actually, I can say that our relationship between Slovakia and India are developing very promising way. So if I can put one figure on the table is that the trade turnover raised to 1.2 billion of euros. So we left last year the India, and it was only 800 million. So this is something which proves us that we are on the right track to be active in this Indo-Pacific region, especially in India.
And talking about the bilateral ties, Mr. Minister, is there scope for doing more to boost defense and security relationship between Slovakia and India?
Yeah, of course. Also, this area is in our, let's say, focus, because we already provide the new MOU to your Ministry of Defense about our defense collaboration, and I think we can offer a lot of things to India side. So we are good at artillery ammunition production, and also with so-called pilot simulators and many other things we can offer, like very unique special chemical detector in a distance. So we can offer a lot of things, and also some training for your troops in our territory. We have a special training place in Slovakia when it comes to chemical, biological and nuclear threats. So many aspects could be fulfilled together with Indian side. Including
possibly defense sales, sales of defense equipment?
Yeah. Yes, of course, this could be one part of our cooperation. Right. So we are good at production of howitzers, for example, and demining also. Demining is very strong part of our expertise we have, which is also very, very important in Ukraine right now. We are delivering this demining equipment to Ukraine to help the civilians for whole life. So this is, I think, the broad area we can start with the cooperation between the India Ministry of Defense and Slovakia.
And talking about the bilateral ties, Mr. Minister, isn't it odd that there have been no visits at the highest levels between India and Slovakia? I don't think the Prime Ministers of India and Slovakia have ever met. How is that so?
Yes, you're right. The last visit we have on a high level, it was a visit of my counterpart, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jaishankar. It was in 2022. So we are really looking forward to visit of your Her Excellency President of India at the beginning of April. So with the business delegation as well. So this will be the very important part of our strengthening tie between our countries.
Absolutely. Mr. Minister, there are a number of conflicts confronting the world at large as we speak, including, most importantly, the Ukraine-Russia conflict. How does Slovakia view attempts to resolve the Ukraine-Russia conflict?
You know, I said already when we started our discussion that from the beginning it was very clear that this conflict has no any military solution. And this 3-year lasting of this conflict prove us that it's true, because nothing has changed too much, but only many casualties on both sides, you know. We were very vocal calling the representatives of European Union and also our colleagues, let's start any peacemaking process or ceasefire, because the European Union was found as on the peace foundation. You know, even in 2012, European Union get the Nobel Peace Prize. So we should be more active in this, but nothing has happened. But nowadays, we very much appreciate the effort of the new US administration and new President Trump, because then we can see the light at the end of this tunnel, because they are very active and looks very promising. The first meeting in Jeddah introduced the ceasefire, 30-day ceasefire, and now it will be a discussion with the Russian side. And I think this is the only way how we can solve the problem. The problem to refueling this conflict more and more will be something which can cause even heavy casualties on both sides without any reason.
Talking about the conflict, Mr. Minister, do you suspect or do you believe that the European Union, for instance, wants this war to continue? Is that your assessment as well? Or do you think EU is equally serious to resolve this conflict once and for all?
You know, there are some countries which are persuaded that we have to achieve the peace through the strength, which means from our side that we will shipping the weapons to the conflict more and more. But there are some countries like Slovakia, which is calling for immediate ceasefire and peace negotiation. So overall, I will be more positive to say that also European Union should be around the table, because it's very important stakeholder. Many sanctions are against the Russian Federation from the European side, and this should be taken into the consideration during the peace negotiation as well. But finally, also we have to talk about the security guarantees, which is very important. And while we have Ukraine as an associate country to the European Union membership, so we have to take into the consideration everything when it comes to the position of European Union in this conflict.
So when we talk about the EU, Mr. Minister, for instance, as you mentioned, EU is imposing sanctions on Russia. EU is talking about putting boots on the ground in Ukraine in terms of peacekeepers or a multinational force. The EU is talking about an army of its own. Do you think these attempts will prove beneficial or helpful, or will they hinder the peace prospects in Ukraine?
Let's put it like that. I'm more optimistic because, as I said, some country from the European Union, they have a little bit different approach as we have. But I think they also wants to have a peace. So let's be more positive and to think that this effort from the US administration will be very important also to recognize that the position of European Union should be contributing than otherwise.
As you mentioned, Mr. Minister, you welcome the US efforts to open a peace channel or dialogue with Russia. But talking about Russia, Mr. Minister, why do you think Moscow is dragging its feet on responding to the ceasefire proposal? I'm
not in the Kremlin to see what they are thinking about, you know. But I think that they have own interest in this conflict. And they did something which was from the international law, completely violation of this, you know. And they have own interests that they want to fulfill during this peace negotiation process. That's why they play some role and to find a common ground. But let's be optimistic as well, because it's the matter of time when the Russian will come and say, okay, this is our, let's say, conditions for a ceasefire and also for peace negotiations. So we have to be very patient, you know, and not to be loud in every, let's say, statement from one or another side, because it could get some disturbances, and we don't want to do that, especially from the Slovak side. We would like to contribute somehow. That's why we were very clearly and to announce to both sides that we can organize in our territory some negotiation on the middle or lower level than the final one. So we would like to be very constructive in this negotiation as a neighboring country, which is very important for us.
Indeed, Prime Minister Fico himself traveled to Moscow in December last year, and he actually offered to host peace talks, like you say, in Slovakia.
Yes.
So is that something that we can expect or anticipate in the next few days or months? Slovakia actually playing host to peace talks?
Let's wait. We don't want to push those stakeholders who are in charge of this negotiation, US, Ukraine, and also the Russian Federation. The offer is on the table, so if they decide, we are ready and staying at their disposal to organize this.
Fair enough. Mr. Minister, you spoke about security guarantees for Ukraine, which is a must. But looking at it from the Russian perspective, what concessions would you like Russia to make?
It's very hard to say right now, because we don't know what the result of the negotiation will be and what guarantees are acceptable for the Russian side and from the Ukrainian side. So that's why we have to be very careful and wait for the result. But finally, everyone understands that this peace should be guaranteed from the superpowers and also from the European Union and also some countries like Global South. This will be contributing to be achieved a long-lasting peace for a future.
Talking about the Global South, Mr. Minister, do you see a scope for India, for instance, to actually play a role in resolving this conflict?
Yeah, sure. India is also a very important stakeholder. We can guarantee some security, and also other countries like China, South Africa, or Brazil as well. I think those countries are also very important, because, you know, we are witnessing something which is very new in Europe. We are celebrating the 80th anniversary of the ending the Second World War. And we want to have peace which will last for decades, you know. So if we are witnessing so strong erosion of international law and humanitarian law, so it's important to come together around the table and find a common ground, and for also the guarantee for world peace. So when it comes to United Nations Security Council, let's talk about the reform of the United Nations. This is a big debate in front of us. This is very important for the future, because now we see that the respect of international law is very, very low.
And talking about the prospects for peace, Mr. Minister, we saw President Zelensky visit the US a few weeks ago, and the whole world saw the verbal spat between the two leaders, President Trump and President Zelensky. And there have been some talk about, from the US side at least, of some in the US wanting President Zelensky to step aside. From a Slovakian perspective, do you think President Zelensky should step down to make room for peace talks?
You know, I am not in a position to comment this. We are very much focused on the results. That's very important. These disturbances and a lot of things around could happen. I'm not the political science to comment this, but I think the results are very important. And I understood that there is some settlement between Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Trump. And I think this is what we need. I would like to put into this very stressful situation more positive atmosphere and energy, as we can see nowadays.
Indeed, and as the US and Russian leaders get together to take the peace process forward, Mr. Minister, some in the EU favor the unfreezing of the Russian assets to boost European defense and security. Would Slovakia be in favor of using those Russian assets to bolster EU defense?
There are two things you are talking about, because one is the frozen assets, and another one is rearm program, which was announced by Madame Ursula von der Leyen. So the frozen asset is very disputable part of support of rearming Ukraine army. So we are very careful with this, but it's something which is on the bilateral level, not on the level of European Union. But the second part, it's something else, and we have to really realize that something has changed. After the 80 years of ending the Second World War, when we had strong guarantees from the US side of the security in the Europe, now we have to be more focused on own security, and we have to robust our defense industry, and also to be more flexible in this field. So that's why Madame von der Leyen introduced new rearm package, which will reach something like 800 billions of euros to support this defense industry. And this is something which we are ready to talk about, because mostly we used to buy the weapons in US. But if we are talking about the European Union itself, and we are facing with a very high drop of our competitiveness, so it's much better to reboost our economy also to fueling this defense industry among the European countries.
Mr. Minister, you spoke about the US. In that context, are you worried that the transatlantic relationship is not in good shape, especially given the tariff that President Trump has imposed on Europe, among other countries?
That's something else. We have to respect the result of the election in the US. So they do their own strategic policy, and we have to react somehow as a European Union. There is a discussion and debate, there is a disbalance between the US and European Union trade turnover, negative to US side. So position of Slovak Republic is very clear. We are against any trade war, because the tariff are bad for business and even worse for consumers.
True.
This is very important to understand. So the imposed tariff 25% for the steel and for aluminium is already valid. So we have to react somehow. And there will be some countermeasures from the European Union side, which will start in April 1st, with the first phase with 8 billion of euros. And the second phase will take place on 13th of April with the 18 billion of euros. But we have to keep the dialogue with the US administration and to explain our position that this could hurt both sides. So let's talk about the common ground, which will be reasonable for both sides. This is very, very important, and we very much support our commissioner, Slovak Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič, in this deal.
Mr. Minister, another issue confronting the world is the Gaza conflict in the Middle East. What would you or what would Slovakia like Israel to do in the interest of peace?
Continuing ceasefire agreement. This is very important. I heard some information that ceasefire is going to be interrupted, but we are waiting for a real result, because there are some negotiations ongoing right now. But I think this is very essential to continue in ceasefire and later on any peace negotiation, and finally to achieve two-state solution. This is very clear. This is very important not only for Palestinians, but very much for Israel side as well. So we support it, and Slovakia already has recognized a Palestinian state in 1988 as a part of former Czechoslovakia, and now we are calling for other partners within the European Union to do so as well, because this could be a first step for a two-state solution. So ceasefire, continuing ceasefire, and future peace negotiation, very important.
Indeed. Mr. Minister, we've spoken about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, we've spoken about the situation in the Middle East. Another issue confronting the world is the situation of tensions in the Indo-Pacific. Are you happy or are you worried that about the growing cooperation between Russia and China? Is that good for the world at large?
You know, we understand that they have historical ties, China and Russia. And one of the results of the Ukraine conflict that their cooperation are even closer than before.
Right.
That we wanted to achieve, I think not. And I think that this is very important also to have peace in this Taiwan Strait and not to escalate the situation. Indeed. Because we all understand that China has some interest, and we are fully committed with the EU One China policy, and we would like to have a very good relation with them, and to prevent and avoid any escalation in this Taiwan Strait. That's our position. It's very clear, and we will support in any way, on bilateral way and also on multilateral way to this peace.
You refer to the Taiwan Strait, Mr. Minister. Very quickly, if I may, what lessons would Ukraine offer for Taiwan?
Diplomatic solution. The diplomatic solution should take place before any conflict or dispute. This is very important. And I think that the diplomacy failed in Ukraine conflict, definitely. And we have to learn from it and to be more active in diplomacy rather than fight against each other.
Right. And finally, Mr. Minister, talking about Slovakia, do you see at all a future for the EU, the European Union project as you and I know it? I mean, does Slovakia intend to quit or move out of the EU sometime going forward? No.
It's very clear that European Union is a fantastic project. As I explained to you, that it was founded on peace foundations. And I think this unique project, which also caused in positive way that we are living in a peace for 80 years in the Europe, prove us that is a good one. So, but we have to be very careful with some activities which are trying to create a new, let's say, a United States of free Europe. It's completely misleading policy, because I think the sovereignty of each member state of European Union should remain. That's why we are calling for a remain of veto right, which is very important. So we have to set up our new position when it comes to new security system in Europe, and also to find a way how we can solve our problem with competitiveness and energy supply and everything when it comes to this competitiveness. That's why I would like to emphasize very much that in some certain time we have to normalize also the relationship with the Russian Federation and the European Union as well. We don't want to build a new iron curtain between European Union and Russia. This is our position, and we will do in this matter as we can do.
On that note, Mr. Minister, may I thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. And with that, it's a wrap on this special broadcast. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.